Good day. My name is David Wild, and this is the third part of a three-part lecture on Chapter 14 on communication from Connect Master Management 2.0. The first subject we'll address in this lecture is on improving communication in the workplace. Poor communication can be quite costly for organizations. In a survey of 400 companies with around 100,000 employees each, the survey found that each company lost around $62 million per year due to inadequate communication in the workplace. With this in mind, it is important for employees at all levels of the organization to be effective communicators. So let's talk about ways that communication can be improved in the workplace. The first subject is defensive versus non-defensive communication. Defensive communication is characterized by being aggressive and attacking, or passive communication. Such communication can trigger feelings of anxiety, insecurity, and sensitivity in the receiver. Oftentimes, defensiveness can be triggered by a poor choice of words or nonverbal behavior. Instead of defensive communication, employees should strive to utilize non-defensive communication, which is confident, direct, and commanding. Non-defensive communication is specific instead of going to extremes. Empathy is the ability to understand and share the feelings of another. If the person you are speaking with does not believe you are hearing them, the communication will not be as impactful. Hearing is not just the physical act of receiving the words coming out of someone's mouth or their nonverbal posture. Hearing is also about genuinely understanding where someone is coming from, whether or not you agree with that person. Nicola Albini, a leadership and performance coach, integrated the concepts of defensive and non-defensive communication with empathy and offers the following tips. You should create a strong intention. You should check your mindset. And finally, you should slow down. Improving sender skills. We have discussed the challenges associated with the communication process. Now, let's see how we can become better senders of information in order to contribute to more effective communication. Sending can be broken down into two general methods: speaking and writing. Being an effective speaker. We speak in so many forums, from one-on-one conversations to meetings to formal presentations. Whether you are speaking to an audience of 1 or 1,000, it is important to keep the following tips in mind. First, you should know your audience. Second, you should watch for feedback and adapt to it. Thirdly, you should balance the use of your voice and your hands. And I will add, slow down in your communications. Being an effective writer. Writing is also an important form of communication, especially as email and texting have replaced the telephone in so much business communications. Here are some tips to make sure you are writing in the most effective way possible. First, think before you write. Secondly, be direct in your writing. And thirdly, keep it lean and make sure it's understandable to the receiver. Next, let's turn to the subject of how you can go about improving receiver skills. Not only should you be working on sending skills, but we should also ensure that we are good receivers of information as well. The most important part of being a receiver in the communications process is listening. There is a difference between hearing and listening. While hearing is the physical act of receiving information, listening requires you to process this information. Active listening, the process of building rapport, understanding, and trust during a conversation, is a cornerstone of effective communication. Active listening requires your full attention to the sender and development of the habits described below in Table 1. The first habit is restating, which means paraphrasing what the sender has just said every so often so you can show you are listening and that you want to ensure that you heard the sender correctly. An example of this would be saying, "So you want to do the following." The second habit is summarizing, which is bringing together the different pieces of the discussion to show you are listening and want to ensure you are understanding the speaker correctly. So an example of this would be if you stated, "If I understand you correctly, dot, dot, dot." The third habit is probing, asking questions to get more meaningful information or to get deeper into the conversation. An example of a probing phrase would be to say, "What specific part of the plan are you finding most challenging?" The fourth habit is validation, which is acknowledging the sender's issues and feelings. An example of a validating statement would be, "I can see why you feel that way. Let's do the following." The final habit in terms of active listening skills is silence. This is allowing for short periods of silence to slow down a sensitive exchange. You should ensure that the silence is not awkward, but necessary. An example of a silence habit would be to have a pause and then say something to the effect of, "I understand this is a difficult time for you," and then allowing the speaker to speak further. So, in summary, in talking about how to improve communication in the workplace, poor communication can be quite costly for organizations. Thus, it is important for employees at all levels of the organization to be effective communicators. Individuals should try to utilize non-defensive communication, which is confident, direct, and commanding, over defensive communication, which may be perceived as aggressive and attacking or passive. Empathy is the ability to understand and share the feelings of others. In order to improve workplace communication, employees should create a strong intention, check their mindset, and slow down. In order to be an effective speaker, you should know your audience, watch for feedback and adapt to it, and balance the use of voice and hands. In order to be an effective writer, you should think before you write, to be direct, and keep it lean. Active listening is the process of building rapport, understanding, and trust during a conversation. It includes restating, summarizing, probing, validation, and silence. Now, let's turn to the subject of social media. Social media is defined as websites and applications that allow individuals to develop content or to participate in social networking. This phenomenon has completely changed the way people communicate, both personally and in the workplace. It is now more important than ever for organizations to effectively manage social media, both in terms of outreach to stakeholders and as it pertains to employee productivity. Social media has many advantages for organizations when it is utilized properly. Let's take a closer look at some of these advantages. The first advantage is the ability to rapidly share information. Social media allows organizations to instantly connect with people all over the world with a single click. Information is presented in real time, and feedback from large populations of individuals can be received quite quickly. The second advantage has to do with organizational innovation. Social media is an ocean of opinions and ideas, and there may be some hidden gems if you look for them. For example, Starbucks created the My Starbucks Idea social media page as a way to listen to customers and get new ideas. Customers have submitted hundreds of thousands of ideas, and some of them have actually come to fruition, such as morning coffee delivery and solar cell umbrellas at their stores that can change devices. The third advantage of social media is increased productivity. Research shows that employees can actually increase their productivity by 9% if allowed to browse social media sites at their leisure. Evidently, getting a break sometimes, even if it's spent catching up with friends on Facebook, can increase productivity and even boost profitability, as well as help meet customer demand more quickly. Of course, organizations need to balance this with the possible risk of decreased productivity due to social media, which we'll discuss more later in talking about the disadvantages of social media. The fourth advantage to social media for organizations is in terms of brand recognition and recruitment. This is an organization's ability to showcase its products as well as to recruit top talent. Companies can keep their brands in customers' minds by writing interesting posts, setting up contests, and conducting surveys. Social media can also serve as an alternative outlet for interactions between companies and their clients. Social media also provides a platform for organizations to recruit talent. Surveys show that more than 90% of companies are currently using social media sites, such as LinkedIn, for recruitment purposes. Now we have to talk about the disadvantages of social media. Although there are a lot of positive opportunities associated with social media, there are also some disadvantages as well. Let's focus on a couple of the key issues here. Cyberloafing is a term used to describe the actions of employees who use their internet access at work for personal use while pretending to do legitimate work. It is derived from the term gold bricking, which means applying a gold coat to a brick of worthless metal. Many times, employees get distracted from the work at hand when a picture, message, or some other type of post comes up on their phone or desktop screen. There is a loss of productivity associated with this distraction, with such loss increasing if the employee actually takes the time to further explore the distraction. Security concerns. Like other types of technology, there are security concerns with the use of social media. Hackers can access company profiles and post misleading information for customers, access sensitive company data, and even delete a company's entire social media presence. This is compounded by the fact that social media allows for the instantaneous transformation of information all over the world. By the time an organization even knows its social media platform has been breached, the damage may already have been done. Privacy is another concern, similar to security risk. An organization's social media platform may contain private customer information that the company does not want others to access. Moreover, employees may post internal company information online, whether inadvertently or not. This information will quickly get in the hands of external stakeholders and could have dire consequences for a company. So, it is important to have effective social media policies in place. There is no turning back the clock on social media. Organizations will need to effectively use it to promote its advantages and to minimize its disadvantages. All organizations, no matter their size, should have a social media policy. This is important so that employees know what is acceptable and what is not acceptable to the organization and to minimize the chances of mistakes. Specifically, examples of what is and is not tolerated should be provided in the policy so employees can clearly understand the organization's expectations when it comes to social media. There are a good number of topics that should be included in an effective social media policy. In table 2 in your book that I would say look to for reference, they look at 4 specific areas that should be highlighted in any company's social media policies. This includes the first area, looking at the company's reputation and professionalism. Secondly, the ability to represent a company online. Thirdly, communications on personal social media sites. And fourth, concern over communications on personal social media sites. And again, I would point you to Table 2 in the book to reference examples of what should be included regarding these four areas and the benefits of addressing those areas in a company's social media policy. And that could be, in fact, the beginnings of a framework for any small business to form their own social media policy. So in summary, in speaking on managing social media is defined as websites and applications that allow individuals to develop content or to participate in social networking. Social media has changed the way people around the world communicate to a great extent. Advantages of social media include the rapid sharing of information, organizational innovation, increased productivity, brand recognition, and recruitment. The disadvantages of social media include cyber loafing, security issues, and privacy concerns. Organizations should develop effective social media policies that include guidance on what impacts a company's reputation, on employee professionalism, on who can represent the company online, and communications on personal or social media sites, and confidentiality. This concludes our lecture on Chapter 14 on communications from Connect Master Management 2.0.